Hey guys, welcome to Today's the Day with Zach Anderson. This episode is brought to you by Alchemy Sales Coaching. I hope you guys enjoy.
Today's the day, baby.
Today's the day.
Today's the day.
Today's the motherfucking day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
Today is the day.
Today's the day.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to Today's the Day with Zach Anderson. And we have, as always, but especially today, a very special guest. We got Mr. TP, Todd Pedersen. Thanks for making it out here again. I believe this is your third episode now with us. Really? Yeah, we broke the last one into
that's
two
right.
parts.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's
we kept running.
I did ramble a little bit too much last time.
No, the people loved it.
Okay.
They requested you come back, so it must have been decent.
It was fun to chat.
It must have been decent. So we'll chat a little bit more, but again, thank you so much for being here. I know it's a crazy weekend and you carved some time out, so I appreciate you big time. But just to give you an idea, because we haven't really talked about it prior to starting recording, an idea of kind of where we're going to go with it. Everybody liked the last one, I think, because it created a lot of relatability. We talked a lot about when you were growing up, and I've seen that side of you ever since I've known you. Honestly, I've been super lucky to be in rooms where I can turn you into a person in my head, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And make you extremely relatable. And I think that's why your influence can go so far with a lot of people. And once people talk with you, they get there. But people who haven't had that chance haven't gotten that opportunity yet. So really just kind of diving in. And I've got a few questions, and there's no real desired location or destination for the conversation, but just to kind of go and chop it up. But I guess one question, I have questions that people also asked me to ask you. So I've got a few of those to throw in there as well. So last time you were on, you talked a little bit about growing up and obviously your process into your professional life and everything like that. My question is there ever a defining moment when you were growing up, or was there something that happened where you kind of separated yourself from not necessarily other people, but yourself from doing something pretty ordinary, if that makes sense? Because you kind of had multiple paths to go down and you chose probably the least ordinary one to go down. Was there a moment that did that, or where did that come from?
So that's an interesting question. And the first thing that came to my mind was my first basketball. This is going to sound super random, but my first basketball team I played on. I discovered the fact that I would die to win. All the other kids on my team, we were like second grade or who knows what. I mean, we could barely dribble. And I remember about halfway through the game, I was going to throw up because I didn't want to lose. And the other kids on my team did not care. They were just out there dorking around. And it just drove me nuts that they didn't care enough to hustle down the court, steal the ball, make a shot, except Corey Zanger. He hustled one time, but he scored for the wrong team. But I just remember, when I was little, man, like I'm not saying I was the best at anything. I wasn't ever the best at anything, but I always worked so dang hard. And I knew that there was a bit of a difference in me, that like I was willing to go the extra mile with my, and I'm going to say it, like lack of ability, lack of strength, lack of, intelligence maybe, to do more, to like be, kind of be on par and then try to be better. But I would say specific to the question, it was definitely Gary Sorensen, who I met on my mission. I talked about my mission a little bit, but growing up in Idaho, we had no internet, no social media, no cell phones, very limited contact to the outside world, outside of Idaho Falls. Like, I didn't know anything about big finance or, big corporations, or I didn't know any of that. So I had a pretty small view of the world, which was, 40,000 people in Idaho Falls. And success and accomplishment back then meant something very different than, meeting Gary Sorensen. It was a big inspiration with me to like really push myself. And then obviously, once I started the company and, more knowledge comes at you. And honestly, like the internet was one of those things. It's like, oh, here, this company's doing this at this scale. This industry has this capacity for scale. But previous, that was my mission president saying, hey, you're not going back to Idaho Falls and becoming, this is no offense, my dad was an orthodontist. You're not going to go be an orthodontist and shove your fingers in people's mouths. That's an hourly job. And I'm like, what? What do you mean it's an hourly job? No, it's not. And he was like, no, it is an hourly job. If your dad's fingers are in, he kept saying his fingers in people's mouths, which is kind of true. He said, if you have your fingers in people's mouths, you're not making money. And you, for whatever reason, have the ability to lead and inspire people in a way that I've not seen before. I'm just telling you what he said to me.
Yeah.
He probably didn't really believe it, but he made me believe that he believed it. And he's like, you have to build something big and substantial that impacts thousands of people's lives. It was very specific. And you know,
Was that just like mind
yeah,
blowing?
I mean, and he made me promise him, this is the last day of my mission. He made me promise him that I would do that. And I'm like, I'll do it. The other funny part about the conversation, he was a very competitive person. He's still alive, but he's old as dirt. If he ends up listening to this, he knows he is. But anyway, he retired by the time he was 40. And he's like, you know, with all that said, like, there's no way you're going to have more success in life than I've had. He goes, that's a fact. I'm better at you than everything, at everything. And I have more confidence and more, whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to have the ability to retire by the time I'm 30. And he's like, there's no way that's possible. And actually, I couldn't retire the way I live today, but I could have actually retired at age 30 very reasonably.
Yeah.
I could have, much smaller lifestyle.
So you got him.
But I didn't retire. I'm so glad I didn't. But yeah, I got him. I crushed him.
I love that. That seems like a moment where somebody like lifted your lid or made you think bigger, whatever. And anyone who's been lucky enough to know you or spend time around you at all or work with you or anything like that, the one like very, very common trend that was always, always common in a work environment with you specifically was you always just pressed people to think bigger, even when they already thought they were thinking outlandishly big. Do you feel like that's where that came from?
I mean, 100%. And won't dig into all of the process that I went through, like on my mission, but like, that's when I grew up.
Yeah.
I was just, I told you before, I was just a crazy kid and no care in the world. And, didn't pay attention to too much. I love sports and, hanging out with buddies and whatnot, but it's kind of when I grew up and I'm like, okay, if I can do something based on making a decision and then putting the effort in, and the outcome can be great. You can't determine the outcome, but I learned that fact in that process. And so I think having done that for 2 years, under his direction and leadership, and he inspired me like all the time to like think bigger and do more and like put myself in an uncomfortable position all the time as a person, as a leader. And that definitely came from him. Now, I would say from a principal's perspective, not that he didn't have them, but that came from my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And my siblings and the environment I lived in. So, I think hopefully part of the inspiration is from me is the way I treat people. I try to treat people with respect, be kind to them, no matter who they are. I don't care who they are. And that definitely comes from my parents.
Yeah.
So, I had two great sets of examples, and not including my grandparents. So what was I talking to last night? Can't even remember. Well, it was a guy named Kirk Weeman. And I said, man, I can't believe that I've been fortunate enough to be in the spots that I've been in, born into the family I was born in, the areas I've lived in, specifically now, the people I'm surrounded by. It's like it blows my mind, actually.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, I mean, is it dumb luck? I don't know. But like, I got to where I got to, that's not even my choice.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. And then you mentioned going from being just like a punk of a kid to growing up and everything like that, putting yourself back in your shoes at that age prior to your mission, right?
Yeah.
Prior to growing up and everything like that. Like my generation or maybe even younger generations than myself, what would be like a call out? Like, where are we missing the mark? Like what is being completely overlooked that you feel didn't used to be or shouldn't be overlooked, even if it did used to be? Like, what's a call out to the younger generations?
I think it's like work ethic. If I think about 30 years ago starting Vivant and the group of people that we'd hire or the people we'd go through, and you know this in recruiting for this type of a job, it's a very hard job. You have to funnel through a lot of people, put a lot of people in the funnel and a few kick out. It just so happens the common denominator of successful people in this job and life generally are hard workers that have a little bit of competitive spirit to them and are teachable. And those aren't the same as they were 30 years ago. They just aren't. You've got to go through more people to find those few people that actually can succeed at this job. Because, look, I think the world says to your generation, you shouldn't have to work hard. In fact, you don't need to work hard. You can just post something and get paid. You don't even have to show up to work. You don't have to be responsible. You shouldn't have to be held to a certain standard, with quality of work or, quality of, ethics or personality. At least that's the message I hear. And then a lot of what I see, it's changed. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily anyone's fault. It's a product of the environment that we have now.
Yeah.
A lot of it driven, again, by, I think it's social media, the negativity of social media.
Yeah. So then obviously my next question would be, okay, well, how do you go cultivate that work ethic and in a specific job in sales or whatever, you can go and do that. But what about just your average person who's like, they don't have that opportunity. They obviously could go and do it, but it's not part of their plan or it's not part of their path right now. Like, how do you go and cultivate like that type of, honestly, detail-oriented work ethic or any type of work ethic that's just can get you to wherever you want to go in whatever field you want to get into?
The truth of the matter is, just like me, I think it requires at some point someone to inspire them to kind of like turn that light bulb on. They need to be inside that environment, see it, witness it, feel it. Because the truth is, we're all built the same. No one's different than anyone else. We're afraid to do a lot of things. Hard work is one of the main things we're scared to do. And the reason we're scared of that is if we put the hard work in and the results aren't what we hoped for or what we said vocally in public were going to happen, then we failed and we're embarrassed. But I think people should look for someone to kind of bring them in. It doesn't have to be door-to-door sales, but in anything that they're thinking of doing, and witness someone doing it at an excellent level, at a high level, high-performing level. And once you've seen it and you get a taste of that, like we're all the same, we love it. Even if it requires work that like brings you down to a level where you're exhausted, mentally, physically, spiritually exhausted because of the effort you put in. And it's not just effort, but like you care about it. It's your emotions are in it. That's the only time where we get I think any of us get full satisfaction. But when you do taste it, it's like what's like tasting caviar for the first time. It's like, what? These fish eggs are like magic in my mouth, and you don't want to eat them all the time. Have you had caviar?
I haven't with you. I've had caviar. Yeah, I've only had caviar with you. That's
but
awesome.
it's like the light bulb turns on. So the hope is like people can somehow through their environment or their job or people that are around them have someone inspire them to at least attempt to go out and maximize their capabilities. Yeah. It doesn't always happen though. It doesn't always happen.
Yeah. That's a big reason why I feel so fortunate is because that exactly what you're saying is exactly what happened for me. Like I was lucky enough to see how Alex Dunn operated in day-to-day life, yourself, Casey Baugh, and then Casey took me completely under his wing and everything from there. So I totally echo. I think that's incredibly important. And it's not necessarily like off the rip people took me under their wing, but it was like even observing anyone, my dad's friends when I was really little, I was like, that dude's whatever they're doing that you would want to aspire to do. Yeah, I love that. I think just being inspired is what you're saying.
You can't always, it doesn't just happen. I mean, you have to like try, just try. You don't have to have all of the tools, but if you just try and keep trying, if someone's, doesn't know how to like, really get after it and maximize their capabilities, then you've got to try. And then you've got to keep searching for the situation or the environment or the person that can help you learn that.
Yeah.
And that's not school. Now you don't learn that in school.
Yeah.
You don't get a college degree to learn how to, be hyper successful. And that doesn't mean, financially successful, like successful at whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
That's not learned in college. It's learned through your environment.
Yeah. 100%. So along with that, you said like choosing to go and like do the hard work will turn you into a hard worker and so on and so forth. One thing that's common throughout your whole story was, and maybe this was later in life rather than earlier, but it seems like since the beginning, even caring enough to win means you're choosing the harder path, right? Deciding to go on a mission was obviously a harder path than probably anything else you could have done at that point. Starting a company and then sticking with a company when there was plenty of times to have an exit. You just continually have chosen hard. I would say at least since your mission, at least since that decision, right? And maybe even prior to that. Where do you get that where it's like you're going to go and choose to do hard? Because a lot of people have the option to choose to go and do hard. A lot of the people, especially my generation, even people who listen to this type of stuff, like people who go and they consume all the YouTube videos, they consume all the podcasts, and then they never do a thing with it, right? I have a theory as to why people don't go and do hard, but why would you say they don't, or why did you?
Look, I think, again, it's they don't because they're afraid of failure. If you're listening and you're one of those people, you're afraid to fail. I personally am not afraid to fail. I do not care. Like, I don't care. If I give everything I have and I have the team around me and a great concept and it fails, it's like, rip up that piece of paper, that part of the past, throw it away, redirect, go charge hard.
Mm-hmm.
It just, now I don't want to fail, but if I do fail, it's like, at least I tried. And there are plenty of things that I've failed at. I mean, not everything goes perfectly in my life.
Yeah.
But that, I think it's fear of failure. And I don't think I've just never had that problem.
Yeah.
And, again, back to my upbringing, like my parents, if we wanted something, we had to go work for it. It's just very different now.
Yeah.
Young kids can get credit cards and can get car loans. I mean, I don't think I had a credit card till I was like 23 or something, 22, 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I had no car debt. I didn't even know how to do it. I wasn't taught that, but I didn't want it. But now it's like, you can kind of get by getting student loans and a credit card and, kind of living off that and floating it and just paying the minimum payments. And, I think it's just a little bit of complacency. And I would say that's the word of this era that's coming up. It's complacency.
Mm.
It's like, it's good enough. Just good enough. Just get by, just work enough that I can go on a vacation with no savings in the bank, no plan for the future, but it's okay. It's good enough.
So where does that come from? Because, and obviously Tony Robbins' theory is weak men create hard times create strong men create easy times create weak men, and it's just a cycle. And do you feel like that plays a factor in it, or what do you like?
I think that's an absolutely a factor. And then it's that, and that's messaging, and again, I don't have social media, but the things I see in the media is, it's like things I read. It's like, oh, you shouldn't have to go into work. Why can't you work from home? Well, let's be honest. No one works hard from home. When I say no one, few people work really hard from home and are as productive or even close to as productive as they would be in a work environment around their peers.
Yeah.
They're collaborating. Sometimes they have to be watched over. Mm-hmm. Some people need to be micromanaged, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. I know that for a fact. And if you don't micromanage them, they're not going to get the job done. Now, hopefully through some influence and experience that they change from that being that needy as a person and become a producer.
Yeah.
But I think it's the product of the environment. And what's our environment been for the last, since 2009? Pretty easy times.
Yeah.
Low interest rate environment. You can borrow for nothing. Everything you buy goes up in value. The government's handing
free money,
trillions of dollars out, which I never got any of that, man. What happened? What? How'd I miss that boat?
You paid
Free,
for it.
free shoes,
You
free
paid for it.
snowmobiles, whatever it was. But yeah, I guess I probably did pay for it. But, you know, it's like you add all of that together and, you know, we've had a long period of time where life's just been good. It's been easy. So is that creating, you know, people that are strong? Probably not.
Yeah.
You know, but things are a little bit shaky right now and maybe going to bad. And you look at what's happening in the world, man, it could get really bad.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of conflict going on, a lot of problems happening. It could escalate very easily, which what does that do? It'll collapse our economy.
Yep.
And then people won't have jobs. And it's like, oh, shoot, I need to do better, be better, outperform to actually just keep a job so I can pay my bills.
Yeah. Well, and I'm curious on your thoughts. So there's a theory with all of that where it's like, because, and you mentioned a couple of things, even back in the day, recruiting for a job as hard as what I do and what you started was literally the funnel. It was more people made it through that funnel and could hack it basically.
Yeah.
More people had that work ethic. Now less people have it. Complacency is the word of the generation or could be, right? So one theory with that is like, okay, if you're in that generation, all that should do for you is show you like you should walk all over everybody that you want to walk, not walk all over in the sense of walk all over, but like when it comes to competing with other people to go and get ahead, you should be able to do that 10 times out of 10 with the situation that you're put in. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I think when I speak to anyone, youth or anyone, I'm like, if you can just work harder than everyone else, and it's not just hard work. It's like you got to have a vision, a plan. If you're working towards, you know, no end in mind, sometimes you're working to work and might, you know, just be like spattered across the wall. But if you do actually have a somewhat of a plan, your chances of success in whatever area you're trying to do, and maybe that ends up being financially, but maybe it's something different, it's like almost guaranteed.
I hope you guys are enjoying this episode so far. It was brought to you by Alchemy Sales Coaching. I started doing one-on-one coaching with Doug back in 2019. And since then, I have gone and not only blown up in my career and my earnings, but it's really helped me through just the ups and downs of life. Now, the reason I feel so strongly about Alchemy is because it's a group of individuals not only focusing on furthering their sales career, but they're diving deep into inner work and becoming the best version of yourself so you can show up and be the best version of yourself. Not only that, if you have any interest in doing any one-on-one coaching with me, I exclusively do all of my one-on-one coaching through Alchemy. So for full access to me, go and check out Alchemy. I think you'll absolutely love it. It's alchemysalescoaching.com. We will also go and post the links in our bio and on stories, etc. So go check it out. Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't have that, they haven't figured it out, or it takes them till they're 50, you know, people my age. I'm 55 almost, so I'm older than that. But it takes them that long to say, I need a plan. And oh boy, I better start getting after it. I have no retirement. I don't have anything in place for my kids' school or, you know, emergency situations. So, you know, I think everyone kind of gets there probably at some point, but the earlier, the better. In fact, was it last week? I had one of my nephews, my sister Lynette's son, came to meet with me, Adam, and he's snot-nosed 20-year-old kid, and just got off the mission. He's at BYU, and he's like, "Hey man, I want to have success in life." And I'm like, "Well, you're going to." He's like, "Well, how do you know?" I'm like, "Because you're asking." Like no one asks at your age. He's not been in a Vivant environment or, you know, some of there are other good companies out there, very few, but I'm just trying to be nice. But you know, he just the fact that he is asking the question, he'll get there at some point. And he's meeting with different people that he's seen in his life that have had success in whatever area that might be. But man, that he's so far ahead of everyone else. It's crazy. I told him that.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get there.
Just because he's curious and then willing to do something that's curiosity, he's willing to go ask.
Yeah.
I love that.
Although, and I hopefully he hears this, he's like, what is the best thing I can do to make, because he has a business or like a business and a product he intends to build. And I'm like, well, you got to go do door-to-door sales. He's like, that has nothing to do with, I'm like, yeah, it does. If you're going to own a company and build a business, you're out of the top 10 skills, it's 1 through 9 is sales ability. The 10th is I don't even know. But you have to have incredible sales ability to recruit people, to get clients on, to inspire people to build a better product that are working, so on and so forth. And I called him out. I said, "Hey man, you got to go do this job." He's like, "Oh, what?"
That's
But
the last.
it's a
That's
fact.
the last answer anyone wants to.
No
I
one wants
remember
to hear
getting
that.
answer. I did not want that answer either. But no, you're absolutely right. And I mean, not only you have said that. I mean, Grant Cardone has said that. Tony Robbins has said that. Ed Milet has said that, and a lot of them even started in that. I think Ed Milet or Tony Robbins started selling meat. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. That's really cool. And we'll get into, you said something we'll get into in just a minute, but before we leave kind of this space, the headspace of like a young adult and coming up and trying to figure it out, and the problems with the generation, stuff like that, or I guess the challenges with this generation specifically. What would be one or a few like actual things, like day-to-day things or week-by-week things or monthly things or preferably daily things that you'd be like, just get in the habit of doing this now? And I think you've already answered a couple of these, but just to lay it out there as plainly as we possibly can, like get in the habit of doing this, this, and this, and that will drastically change where you end up when you're 50. Even if you don't need to go and necessarily start a multi-billion-dollar business, but these few things drastically will change where you end up, give you much more freedom with your time, your finances, everything. What would you say?
I mean, I think the first thing is like actually thinking about the future, not worrying about it, but thinking about it. Like so few people think about the outcome in life they want. They just don't. A lot of people start companies with no concept of the outcome. Like what does a great outcome look like? And so I think in life, it's important to think about like, where am I right now? What do I want to be doing? How do I want to impact people around me, my environment, the community I live in? They just don't think like that, which is super funny because I hear some of the rhetoric spoken by the younger generation. For instance, people shouldn't be wealthy. Elon Musk shouldn't have $200 billion. And I'm like, what? He worked for that. And is he giving it all away yet? No, but he's changing. He's completely transforming the world.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a plan. He's not without a plan. He has an insane plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. It's preposterous, but he's going to go get it done because he always does. And if you don't have a plan, you're not thinking about your future, man, you're so far in the hole. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think people, it's like they wake up, they go do their hourly job. They collect their check and they pay their taxes. They barely can pay their rent. They barely can't afford gas and they're, bumming rides. Just fine. I would just barely got by for a long time, but there's no process in place to think, how am I going to move beyond this?
Yeah.
And that includes, how am I going to make myself a better, more talented person that can deliver results for other people around me, or a company that I work with, or a partnership, or a client that I might have.
Mm-hmm.
They don't think about that. And then the other thing I thought about as you're saying, it just popped in my mind, is start saving money today. People want to have success. Part of the reason people can't have success is because they're broke. And I'm not saying be a multi-billionaire. I'm saying just success. If you have insane stress, financial stress in your life, it doesn't matter what career path you're trying to go down. It's hard to be excellent when that's, just like kicking you in the stomach. Like,
yeah.
I need to change my tires because they're bald and you can't. How are you an excellent teacher? If you're going to be a grade school teacher, like, it's really hard. Now, whole different topic. They should be paid 10 times what they're paid. And I'd pay more taxes and would like us to pay more taxes to pay them more, but start saving money today towards whatever end that you're looking for. Like, if it's $50 a month or $100 a month or $100 a paycheck, start that habit now. And like all things that you want to do, start the habit today. Everyone thinks, I'm going to do it tomorrow. I'm going to do it next month. It's kind of like, diets. It's easy to think, I'm going to start the first of the month, or working out the first of the month or the first of the year.
Yeah.
It's like, you just got to do it in small incremental bites, and it becomes a habit, it becomes a muscle, it becomes something you're passionate about, knowledgeable about. And then it becomes easy. It's like second language to you, whatever you're working on.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think both those. I think the first part is so important to realize that it really doesn't matter where you're at, right? It's just knowing where you want to go,
Yeah.
right? Like there's no shame in anywhere and being at any step as long as you're stepping towards something. I
Yeah.
love that. I think that's super important. I love that you said that. And then I guess this is just a reiteration of the question in a different way that might make you think a little bit differently.
Okay.
What's something you're glad that you've done on a day, and not one of those two things, because I know obviously you've saved money and obviously you have kind of an end in mind
Yeah.
type vision. What's something you're glad you have done already up into this point where you're like, wow, I'm substantially living a way more fulfilled life because of that, and I'm happier because of that? And I'm sure there's a million, but what would you say is one of the top?
I mean, like, this is gonna. I don't know why this hit my brain. I'm just gonna tell you what it is. Like, for whatever reason, I love people. Like, I love, and I'm saying all people. If they work at a gas station, they're from multi-billionaire, an older person, a younger person. Like, I love people, and I've curiosity in people and what makes them tick. I think I've been pretty good in life about trying to understand whoever I'm with, and kind of hear them and what they're about. That's something I've like really enjoyed in my life. I could bring up examples, but just like I walked into the gas station the other day and didn't know the guy, I'd never seen the guy before, but just like kind of dug in on his life. Man, and it ends up that it was like inspiring to me because he's had a really tough go. And I'm like, dang, man, but he's still firing, he's still going, still charging. So, like learn how to like people and appreciate people and like be like a sponge from, other people's experiences. It can inspire us. It can actually help us. Sometimes it's to make better choices. A lot of people's situation, well, not a lot, people's situations are because of their decisions.
Mm-hmm.
We can't control everything, but we can control a lot of things, and they'll lead up to something. So that's something where I think people kind of go through life, and it's like they're in a small little bubble, and they don't open their eyes and their heart and their minds to like the people around them. That is one thing I'll say that I really miss about being at Vivant, like being surrounded by so many people from so many different backgrounds with different, environments they grew up in and family situations and current situations. And, sometimes it wasn't fun, but man, I loved it. It was so awesome. And I felt like, you said earlier that I, help people kind of raise their vision. I felt like everyone helped me raise my vision. Cause I was like, I'm curious, like, what do you want out of life? What do you want to do? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be? What do you want life to look like when it's kind of wrapping up at age 80 or whatever?
Yeah. I love that. That is a unique answer, but that couldn't be more fitting for you. And in growing up and kind of watching, you do that. And there have been many conversations where it's like, oh, what's Todd's superpower? Like what does Todd do so well? Even when you were at Vivant at the leadership things, it's like, oh, he can make whoever he's talking to feel like the most important person in the room. And I know you've heard that, and people say that all the time, and it's true. And what I realized in watching you do it, anytime we would go somewhere, or even still, like we're out of state, in state, grabbing food or whatever, and someone comments on your car, and you can have a 15-minute conversation with them, make them feel extremely important. And I really enjoy watching it. Actually, doing it is actually kind of scary. Because I'm like, oh, I'm going to try and do that. And what I've realized is what you're actually doing is you're creating depth out of a very surface level experience, which is really, really cool. And like, there's way more depth to people, like the cashier at the gas station. There's way more depth to them if you're willing to go and find it.
Yeah.
But it's an uncomfortable thing most of the time. For me, it's extremely uncomfortable. And I've
It actually is uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if I said this last time, but one of the things, and this is a random path, but when I'm out and about, grocery store, I don't care where I am. If someone looks at me, I say hi to them.
You do. You do.
I don't care. If
You
they look
do
at me,
do
I
that.
say hi. How are you doing?
Even if you got somewhere to be.
And my daughters here, it drives them crazy. In fact, last night, Dean was with me. He's like, Dad, can we go? And I kept running into people. Some I knew, some I didn't know. And I don't know, man, I get deep in the in the moment with people and what they're talking about and what they're dealing with and what they're working on, and probably to a little bit to a fault. Yeah, I don't know. Like and I guess that's kind of a general topic. Like, how do you learn? Like, people should learn how to enjoy the moment in the day. And that doesn't mean it's all going good.
Yeah.
Because my days don't all go great. I've had really bad years. We talked about some of that.
Yeah.
And did I always appreciate that in the moment? I actually just had something happen pretty recently that really like set me back pretty hard emotionally. And Jake, Jake, he called me up and he's like, Dad, Mom said you're having a little bit of a tough time. And I'm like, I'm having a really tough time. And he's like, Dad, listen, you need to figure out how to appreciate this. And that's always hard to hear. But he was so right. Like, appreciate even the deep, difficult emotion that we deal with. And sometimes it's through tragedy or disappointments or failures or whatever. But like, man, if you learn to embrace that, sometimes you use it as fuel for the fire, to go do something different or change your life or whatever it is. I think most of the time I've been able to do it. There have been a few times in life where it was pretty tough, and I don't know if I was man enough or good enough to like truly embrace. Post fact, all of the things I've been through, I appreciate. I would change them if I could, but I can't. So I've had to learn to appreciate them.
Yeah. No, and I think it's honestly a skill. Yeah, it's absolutely a skill. It takes a lot of work to go and be present. That's what I was going to say, is what you're really doing in those instances where you see people is you're being fully present. And part of being fully present means you're feeling whatever emotion is there rather than avoiding it and putting your mind somewhere else, that's really cool. I like that. And I've never really looked at that way. That was kind of off the cuff. That's cool. So kind of segueing a little bit, and this is, again, I got a lot of requests for what people cared to hear about. And I've loved so far. The advice has been awesome, and that's mostly catered towards myself, and then obviously most of our listeners. But then, a lot of people reached out, and it's like, okay, well, he has this. The way people view it is that you have like this, or you've had this eagle eye view, right, throughout the course of your professional career of seeing so many of these companies where these are people who actually. Once someone has a company, that means they weren't one of the complacent ones. They got up, they started it, they did it. And you've seen so many of those not work.
Most of them. The grand majority have not worked.
Exactly.
Even some that are currently in business are not working. The owners probably know it. They may not have admitted it to themselves or their employees, but they're not working. And then what's the question?
So the question is, where did they go wrong? And I know you mentioned luck, and I believe in luck, but I also believe you create your own luck in that sense. So like, where do they go wrong? Why is that? How does that happen? Why does it happen? And from your view,
frankly, from experience, they're doing it for the wrong reason.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying the show. My name is Quince.
And I'm Coy.
We are the owners of King Cool Plunge, a Utah-based cold plunge company.
If you want to improve your physical, mental, emotional well-being, this is for you. Check us out at kingcoolplunge.com. That's KINGKOOLPLUNGE.com.
For a special offer at checkout, use code TTD.
Now back to the show.
I mean, they're just flat. They're doing the running the company for the wrong reason. And that wrong reason is they just want to make money. And when money is the central focus of what you're doing, you're going to fail. Period. Now, do some people thread the needle sometimes and the luck comes into play and they build something, they exit quickly and they're out? Yes. But that's not success. Like, selling Vivant isn't a success. Selling Vivant Solar isn't a success. It was the company that was built and the environment built and the opportunity built. That was the success. It wasn't, hey, the Pedersens have money now. That's not the success. It's a byproduct.
Mm-hmm.
And my view, and I think I'm right. I know I'm right. Because I invest in tons of companies. I'm invested in north of 100 private companies. The owners that are trying to build something excellent for their customers, for opportunity for their employee base, and they want to do it the best they can and the best in the space they're in, they succeed. Now, they'll have ups and downs, but those that are like, And I hear it when people come to meet with me. I'm going to build this and sell it and make a grundle of money. I'm going to have a jet just like you. And I don't invest in them.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't, because I think they're most likely going to fail, because it's about the money. Now, should they, if someone builds a company and has success, should they get money out of that? Yeah, they should. That will happen. But they start making, and when I say that, it's not just the money, they start making poor choices. When it's about the money, you cut corners. You don't treat people. You don't live up to what you said you were going to do. You start creating this path that is the only outcome, and the only vision is the big pot of gold at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, you've got blinders on to the environment. And your environment is your customers, your product, your services, your back-end support, your employees, their opportunity, their ability to learn and grow and gain skill set and advance in their life and feel like they're better people. They and again, it sounds brutal, but it's true.
It's true.
Yeah. And look, I mean, sometimes the economy smacks companies in the face. They had no idea it was going to happen, but that happened to me too. The difference was my wife and I lived in a way that even when things were difficult and I could not pay myself for 10 months, we'd saved money and we had no debt.
Mm-hmm.
And we lived off of nothing. And we didn't need our company to support us in a way that put the company down when it needed the capital resources to stay in business and survive an environment. How many people are willing to do that? Like hardly anyone, especially now, because it's like, immediate satisfaction is kind of the rule of the day. Nothing against it, but like people live so far beyond their means. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And if you're a business owner and you're living beyond your means or at your means and a bump in the business happens, you're out of business.
Because you're not going to change the way you live.
Yeah. Or you're having to raise money and you get diluted and you have no equity left. And it just, there's a whole series of things that can happen. But again, like if you want to have success in business, build a successful business. That's it. And a successful environment for employees. And the money will come at some point.
Yeah.
It may take 30 years like it did with me, which is kind of not that successful. It took a long time to I made money along the way and all that, but it took a long time to where I was like, okay, we're good now. And up until that point, like Vivant never felt pressure to pay me a bunch of money to afford my, mortgaged houseboat, my mortgaged ski boat, my mortgaged cars. I didn't have that.
Yeah.
But people want it now and they want it quick and they want the biggest and the best. And and again, social media driven, I think, mostly. Not that wasn't there before, but more so now.
It's way more apparent.
Yeah.
You said something that's really cool, and I want you to elaborate a little bit. You said selling Vivint Solar, selling Vivint, those weren't the successes. The successes were building Vivint Solar, building Vivint. Why? Because the reason I ask is because I imagine sitting in a different seat, listening or watching and being like, yeah, right. Like whatever that exit was, millions of dollars, like what do you
tens
mean?
of thousands.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands.
That's lots of tens of thousands of dollars. That's a success for sure. Like why though? Like what's behind it? Because you've experienced it.
Yeah, but there's just no, this is going to sound like I'm not appreciative because I am. Like I can't even believe the life I have. The wife and the family, my little girl Ava here, we're about to go shoot guns, by the way. And she's crazy. She wants to go shoot some ARs and some pistols. So super appreciative of the exits and the money that we received from that. But let's say that would have happened like in the first 6 months, like the same financial success. Man, I wouldn't have had the experience and the knowledge and the difficulties and figured out who I am, who I'm not, who I want to become. Like I would have missed on all the experiences of life. It was just happened quickly. So it was the whole building and the fighting, not fight, but like the fight for success and the fight to survive. And that's where the richness of my life experience has been. Would I choose no exit financially or the exits I've had, I'd of course choose the money.
Yeah.
I don't want all of that for nothing. Then no thanks. But it was the whole process. Like I look back on I don't reminisce back and be like, man, December of November of 2020, man, that was a big exit out of Vivant Solar. I don't even reminisce on that like at all.
Yeah.
It's all the craziness that went on, that, you know, the startup of it, the fight with our partners, our investors, to actually do that inside of our business and then spin it out and take it public and you know, almost go out of business a couple of times because it almost ran out of capital, and like making major change. I mean, just all of those experiences are like rich. That's the richness of life, not just an exit. Now, again, choose the exit over no exit for sure. But that's not when I'm dying. It's not gonna be like, oh man, I had some big exits.
Yeah,
that's like I had big experiences, like experiences that like would be, if I wrote a book about my life, it's like, well, that can't be true. Like, how did that all happen? And you still made it through. And the funnier part is, how did you do that? Because I am just, you mentioned earlier, like if people haven't met me, maybe they have some sort of expectation, but I'm just stink normal. You know that. I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal person. Mm-hmm. I'm not smarter than anyone else. I do think work ethic is one thing I have over most people. Determination maybe, but like I don't have advantages mentally or physically over other people. I'm just a normal. I'm 5'11", 180. I'm hoping 182 pounds, probably more like 187. But,
Andy said you told her you were 6 feet when you met her.
Yeah, I was 5'11", 3/4. I'm shorter now because of my back problems.
You're shrinking.
I'm literally 5'11" now, and I was 5'11" 3/4. Isn't that 6 feet?
That's
when you
6 feet.
When you put the shoes on,
you're round. You're
and I
round.
wear boots too. I wear those boots. I'm just
That's
6
feet.
6'1".
If you really
With boots
wanted
on.
to, 6'1".
6'1" with boots on.
No one will argue it.
Problem is, my wife is 6'1" with her 7-inch heels on.
That's true.
And
so you have to be 6'1".
Yes, I have to be 6'1".
True. No, that's perfect. And the reason I asked that question, because you answered it perfectly. I was just curious on how you'd answer it, and I think it sheds a lot of like light for people who haven't experienced something like that. It's a cool way to look at it, different from how you would from the outside.
Yeah.
Now I guess, and I'll be respectful of your time. We won't keep you here for 2.5 hours like last time. The next question that is more so for myself and then a few other people who had kind of wondered it is like, now where you're at in life, what brings you the most joy at this point? And it's probably similar to the past, but like this point is probably different than any other phase in your life. So what brings you joy at this point, and has it changed from what it used to be? Yeah, I'm curious on that.
So it's funny you say that, because I'm like in this, I'm in a transition in life. I went from crazy work hours, crazy stress, to not. I don't work crazy hours by choice. I mean, I have so many things I could be doing, but I work 5 or 6 hours a day now. And my main priority and focus is my family. My wife and my kids and what they're doing and what they're about and what they're trying to accomplish in life, which, by the way, it's hard, because I'm used to being in a big organization with big plans and fighting for that and going for that every day. And to transition into this, it's emotionally difficult. It's like, whoa, I'm not making decisions anymore. Now, yeah, I'm making decisions on where we're investing our money and things, but nothing like that impacted as many people as I did before.
Yeah.
So it's a transition, but it's a choice. I've a few times gotten very close to getting back into the business, some form or fashion, and competing with Vivant. But Sunrun and other groups. But I've felt like that was the selfish decision, because it's what I want to do, not what my family maybe needs me to do. So I'm in a little bit of a flux that way, to be totally honest. Like it's an odd feeling. Like I don't have to do anything today. Don't need money, don't need cash flow. I already have it. So I'm not fighting for the next buck and how do I pay rent and, get money for investments. And so it's strange actually, but I appreciate it so much. It's crazy. Especially I would say in the last 4 or 5 months, I had all those surgeries, post surgeries, man, I was hurting so bad. Like I didn't, it's hard
Couldn't
to appreciate anything. I was
anything.
just hurting.
Yeah.
But now I feel great outside of my back thing this last week. But man, it's been fun. Like I don't know, Ava, I'm around more, right? Am I around too much? You don't think so? But Andy, for a minute there, thought I was, because I'd built an office building and I just do my meetings in my house. I'm like, last summer was the first summer I'm like, grass is green. I didn't know that fact. I've never actually looked at it that way. It's actually green. And we have lots of trees on our property. Whoa, this is weird. And a mountain behind us. Amazing. And started to appreciate that stuff. But I was doing all my meetings out of my house, and Andy finally was like, hey, look, don't you have an office building? Like, it'd probably be good for you to go, office with your buddies that you invest with and be at work for a couple of hours a day. I'm like, are you saying something to me? Or,
Subliminal
I thought
messages.
24 hours together was great. But anyway, so yeah, my life is changing right now. And the other thing that I'm doing, which I think, I don't know if I change my past, but I'm trying to do things that I care about and not do things not that I don't care about, but I know I'm not going to do or want to be involved with. I'm trying to be more honest with that. And it's freed my life up. And maybe had I done that a little bit better in the past, I could have had more
you mean
focus.
with extra time or with people, or what do you mean?
Yeah, like, I'd take meetings and appointments and things that I knew I wasn't going to be involved with, but I did I just said yes to be nice.
Yeah.
And I think no's an okay answer. No, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I've had people ask me to do podcasts. I'm like, no, nothing against you, but what you're trying to promote and build, I don't support it.
Yeah.
I don't say that to them, but that's how I feel. So
Yeah.
I say no. And other people have called to have meetings with me to chit chat about this and that. I'm like, look, I know I respect what you're doing and what you're trying to build, but like, I'm not about that. And would never invest in it or be part of it. And no, I don't want to be an advisor because it's kind of a dead end street. And so I'm not going to spend my time and my family's time on something that is not going to be impactful.
Yeah.
So I've started to change some things, and honestly, like, it's freed me up so much. It's
also
awesome.
benefiting them as well. Like
Maybe, yeah.
No,
I've
might
thought
not
about
be
that.
the answer people want to hear, but at the same time, it's way better than having a halfway present person that really has no interest taking up your own time when you could be finding someone else. Yeah. Which is probably a hard answer to hear, but yeah. Absolutely.
And it's not, I don't like saying no to people. I just don't like it. I never have. It's like I want to find a way, but I've changed that. It was a gentleman, I don't even know, randomly, was like, hey, man, you need to free your schedule up and just do things that you care about and be around people that you care about. Like, that's what you need to do. And I'm like, I'll do it. And literally, he told me that it was maybe 4 or 5 months ago, and I have made a massive transition.
Really?
Not that I'm disrespectful to people. I'm not. But it's like, hey, what are you working on? What are you doing? Oh, that's cool. I wish all the success in the world on you, but that's not something that I would spend my time on or invest my capital in. Full stop.
Yep.
Good luck to you.
That's awesome. That just opens up time for you to do more of the things that you care about.
Go shoot guns.
Exactly. Go shoot guns.
We're going to go shoot pumpkins.
I like that.
We have like 300 pumpkins set up on the back nine.
Yeah, so you're going to have fun.
We're going to go light them up.
I like it. I might roll up there in a minute. Actually, no, I have a flight. I'm going to miss my
Where
flight.
are you going?
Nashville.
Oh.
Me and my girlfriend or
Dude,
siblings are going to Nashville.
I love Nashville.
I've never gone experience Nashville.
You are going to love Nashville.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
It's so cool.
I spent one night there, like an overnight, and we drove down what's the street called? With
all the bars and music and all that.
Beale Street.
No, Beale Street's tennis. That's Memphis side.
My bad. I'll just shut up again.
No.
It's called State Street.
No,
no, that's Orem.
I don't know what it is.
We're both off.
The street.
I don't know what it's called.
I don't either, but I drove
fantastic.
through it, and I want to go. I'm excited to experience it. We're spending a few days there, so I'm really excited.
It's one of the cities I could live in. Boston. I love New York. But Nashville's super
Well,
cool.
Sid and Elliot are actually one of the reasons that I'm stoked to go because they talk highly of it.
Yeah, it's
so I'm
super
excited.
cool.
So last question. Again, I appreciate you big time. We're right about on the hour mark, so I'll wrap it up and let you go do your thing. And I appreciate you. And I have a couple, but I think the one that I want to ask just to kind of wrap it up is you've already done this, so I'm curious how you're going to answer it. But like, what now is your goal to have your legacy be? Because you're around right now, you're not going to be around forever. As sad as that is to even bring up, but it's true. And I think you've approached things maybe not on purpose, but or maybe on purpose, actually, probably on purpose, like with a legacy in mind. And you've already created a legacy up until this point, but like right now, when you're like, okay, this is what I want to leave, like this is the legacy that I want to leave. What is it? And have you already done what you need to do? Do you feel like to leave that legacy?
I mean, again, I'm pretty simple-minded about life. The only thing I really care about people saying about me when I die, my legacy, is I was a kind person. That doesn't mean pushover, by the way, but I was a kind person. And that I lived my life in a way that tried to lift other people up around me. And that could be through, maybe my influence or, work environment, or the things that we tried to do, that we tried to participate in. Like, my wife and I try to be as charitable as possible. On a day-to-day basis, we try to be charitable. I'm not saying we are perfect at it and great at it, and some people may think we're not because we have too much. But that's super important to me that, when I die, my family name better mean and say that people better say about not just me, but my children, that they're nice people. They're nice, and regardless of people's backgrounds, regardless, doesn't matter if they're rich, poor, what color they are, whatever, their circumstances, they better be nice to them.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're not, that would be the only truly disappointing thing to me, is if someone said to me, it's me chatting with someone and they said, you're a jerk.
Yeah.
Now, ask my competitors what they thought of me, and they probably thought I was a jerk. That's okay with me because I wanted to bury them.
Yeah.
But post everything else, man, I hoped all the success in the world on them and everyone else. But if you didn't compete with me, I always hope for people's success. But that's honestly it. I don't know if that sounds like a weird answer, but like that's all I really care about. Like,
I think it's a perfect answer.
Is am I a decent person or not? And if I'm not, and I'm the third wealthiest person in Utah when I die, no one gives a crap about that. They just don't. And especially my kids, they don't care. Do you care about that? No. Because none of it's going to you anyway. Right?
I'll believe that when I see it. You've been saying that, except Dean, but no.
Dean's going to be wealthy, and my other kid's going to be broke.
He'll be just fine.
Yeah, but they'll be happy.
No, man, that's a perfect answer, and I love that. So once again, and for the last time, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate it. I know you're busy.
Thank you, man.
It means a ton.
Always, invite me back. I don't know what it is, but I hate my own voice, but I like talking with these and hearing.
We added auto tune and a little bit of reverb to you.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, you
because I sound like
right
a
now.
rock star. I'm joking. I don't.
But
I really does everyone hate their voice, by the way? You guys,
Yes.
like when I hear myself, I'm like, I sound like a dork.
Everyone hates their voice.
Is that true?
But it sounds great.
It's the worst. I have a hard time re-listening to episodes because of it.
It's like, oh wow, I sound irritating or whatever. But anyway, but it's super fun. And by the way, like I think I said this before, but like watching you grow up. I mean, because we've been around you for many years. Who you've become is insane, and your potential. I mean, are you 24?
24, yeah.
And you're like, you're at a point. I was not at age 24, man. I was not even close. I was just surviving like my business, getting by day to day to day. I didn't have the knowledge or the background or the skill set I didn't have that vision at 24. It took me so many years to build up that kind of vision. So it's been like amazing to watch you. And our family loves you and you're family to us. And I'm just like super proud of you and the people that you're around, and you like inspire people in a way, and you make people feel good about themselves. And that's an important thing in life right there.
Yeah, you guys have been awesome, man. That means more than you know. I appreciate it. And I love you. And then for everybody listening, thank you guys. Until next time, much love.
Peace.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. As always, it was a blast for me. I hope you got something out of this. If you got something out of this video of value, share this with a friend, and please go show your love. We're on all streaming platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Any ratings, comments, likes, shares, they go a very long way, and they make it so I can keep doing these things for you, and I would appreciate it greatly. So please go share with a friend. Until next time.